Welcome to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Today, we're talking about common phrases that you may have heard when you were younger that may or may not be serving you now.
I think this is such a wonderful topic, so thank you for bringing it. We were talking about just common phrases that we typically have or others have, and we wanted just to go through many of the common phrases and dissect them.
I was talking to a client today, and her mum used to, anytime anything went wrong for her or she wasn't happy, she would say, "Oh, there's people dying in Africa." And it would mean that her problems weren't valid, they weren't allowed to be heard, they weren't really allowed to be voiced because people were worse off. There were people dying, so that meant that she wasn't allowed to be sad.
Yes.
We covered this last week's topic. This, just because other people may have it worse off, it doesn't mean that you don't get to have feelings, you don't get to be sad, you don't get to feel all the feelings.
Right.
And then we just got to thinking, how many of these phrases have we heard when we were younger, going through life, that have stayed with us now that we just don't question?
Mm-hmm.
And if we did question, would we still have it as the voice in our head? Probably not for most of them.
Yes. So let's start going through these because I think we came up with some really great ones. I'm going to start off with "This is just who I am." This is a phrase I hear more often than not is like, "This is just who I am." And so when we make that statement, we are really putting ourselves in a box. There is no room for shifting. You are just committed to being exactly who is causing the results that you may or may not enjoy, which typically is you don't enjoy it, but you just say, "This is who I am," rather than being open to possibility. And so this one is a very closed off one. What do you hear when you hear this phrase?
Yeah, this is just who I am. I'm shy. I'm awkward. I'm not very good at maths. I'm not very creative. I'm not confident. The list goes on. All of these labels that we give ourselves that just cuts us off from trying new things.
Hmm.
And you're not the same person that you were at, I don't know, 7, 5, 6, however, whenever these ideas came up. You're a completely different person, but the new evidence hasn't filtered through, and it's just, this is just the way I am. And
Right.
it's just no growth. There's no room for growth in that statement. So stop saying
Uh,
it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to actually push back and say, go ahead and say it, but call yourself out on it. Like, say it because it's like, actually, this is not who I am. This is just who I keep living into who I'm being. So I can either choose to stay this way or I can choose to open this up and be like, that's so interesting. I remember hearing from one of the books I have read that your personality is who you are from a young age. So a lot of times we keep that personality from a young age. And then we say the statement of, "This is just who I am." You're in a place of like, so basically you're talking about your 7-year-old self when you say, "This is just who I am." And that just makes me laugh. I think that's such a funny way to view it. So,
Yeah, and some of the best conversations I have with clients, my favorites, are when they start to have the realization, oh, that's not me anymore. And there's so much evidence that, as I say, hasn't filtered through to the part of them that thinks they're just always going to be a certain way. And then they have this realization, and so much more opens up for them. It's oh, I'm not just this shy, not confident person because I've done this, this, and this. And even though it was terrifying, I did it and I got out there. And what does that mean for me going forward? So much more possibility is open.
yes, yes.
And one I found was boys don't cry.
Ooh,
Yeah. Which,
ooh,
how many people will have heard that growing up? And it's so stifling and it's just not true. And we're lucky to be in a more modern society that is evolving and allowing boys to cry. And we have an amazing childminder, and she's really fostering that for my 3-year-old. And when he was about 2.5 and he was just crying, and I asked him how he was, and he said, "I just want to cry." I'm like, "Yay, that's okay. You can just cry, and I'm not going to cut you off." And it doesn't make you any less of a boy or whatever people want to say. And this is what we need to be teaching our young boys and also the older ones that, you were told this thing and you were made to feel like men had to be men and they had to be the provider and the stable one. It it's not true and it's harmful. And you can cry and you can have emotions. And if you were told that, I'm really sorry. And like, just know it's safe and you're allowed.
Yeah, well, for me, that is one of the phrases I usually talk about is how culture has really stifled us. And specifically with that, that is an example of it. Like, boys don't cry. You don't hear the phrase girls don't cry. It's just such a generalization. And it really, really hurts where boys are allowed to express our feelings. Like we all have them. And so that is such a damaging one. And I'm glad that you brought it to the table because they can cry and they need to cry. And we as humans need to give them a space to cry along with girls. Like everyone's allowed to cry.
Yeah. Well, and the other one that came after that is be a good girl.
Oh, this one is what I talk about a lot and what I enjoy. Yes, being a good girl. So where boys can't cry, girls have this belief of being a good girl constantly. And we are always in the place of like wanting to be chosen and just be good and just fit into that box of like just a box of being good.
Yeah. Don't step over it because you might not be loved, you might not be accepted because girls have to be quiet and small and not upset people because they're not allowed.
Mhm.
And the people that grow up with this as their like core belief are people that can't speak out for themselves and they get walked over and they get ignored because they don't know how to use their voice because they were never allowed. And
Mhm.
it ends up in this place of not being in alignment, inauthenticity, and eventually leads to burnout because you're saying yes to everyone and you're not really being true to yourself.
This got displayed for me in a different way where just a very minute of being a good girl was I was having a conversation with a woman. It was like a meet another person. And we were in this space and I was like, I caught myself giggling. And I thought to myself, I was like, I don't giggle. Like, and I was like, really got curious in the moment of like, what is going on? This is not who you were. But like, that is the conditioning of being a good girl. I was wanting so bad to be liked rather than actually genuinely being authentic in the sense of getting to know one another. And I just really found myself being this good girl of like, and I was like, "Who are you? That is not who you are." And so, yes, it shows up in even small ways like that of meeting someone and just wanting to be liked rather than being my full authentic self. So,
Yeah, exactly. And like phrases can be good as well.
let's hear yours.
The universe has your back.
Mm.
It's nice and it feels safe and it really has this like community sense of everything will be okay. The universe has your back. Things are working for you. And from that space of feeling safe and held, so much more is possible because you feel like you're part of something rather than just working against everyone else.
I love it.
Yeah, I love that phrase.
Yes, it's one I actually used often when I don't feel like things are going my way is like, "No, every workout essentially is the phrase I'm gonna use instead of the universe has your back, but same principle in mind. So yes. My next phrase, this always happens to me. And so that is a very limiting type of phrase that can happen is where you're just like, you keep seeing the same result. Like you just expect certain things to happen. And so then you live once again in this box of just like, this always happens to me. And I can think of many clients, even as I say that, that is one of their beliefs is that just as they're starting to go along and be open to possibility, the same thing can kind of happen. And it ends up being one of those ones where it it's not always happening to you. You just keep looking for the same result.
Yeah. And one off the back of that just came up. It's just one of those days.
Oh, yeah.
And it's perpetuating. So, and I was talking to someone about it, and it's like, yeah. So I was rushing out the house. So then I spilled my coffee all over myself. So then I had to get changed, and then I was late for this meeting, and then I was stressed, so I wasn't really listening, and like yada yada yada, and it goes on. And you can see how it's this self fulfilling prophecy. So if one thing goes wrong, and you're like, oh, it's just going to be one of those days. You're in a rushed mindset. You're not calm. You're creating the next thing happening and the next thing happening. So it's not chance. It's your mindset, your outlook is now heightened to see these things and to miss things because your brain's half on expecting something to happen and half on what you're meant to be focusing on.
Yes. One wise woman that I went to school with, she made the statement of when someone was like, "It's a bad day," is kind of what I'm hearing in this as well, is it's just a bad day. And she's like, "No, actually, it was just a bad moment that you're now creating into a day." And I was like, that is such
Hmm.
wisdom because that is so true. Like, if you want to keep on the path of having a bad day, keep on with that thought process. Otherwise, it's just one moment. And you can literally in the moment be like, yes, that sucks. And then you can shift it and it doesn't have to keep carrying on. And so I just wanted to share that because it's always a wisdom that has stayed with me of it was a bad moment, not a bad day, a bad moment. So
Yeah.
that's shifting.
You can be anything you want to be. Now,
Mm,
imagine if that's what we said to our kids. We don't put any limiting beliefs on them from an early age. Imagine like the possibility that they can see. I mean, not just kids, even like as people get older, just keep saying like you can be anything you want to be.
and actually, as I hear you say that, is this one that you were actually told? Because I can see that just knowing you, that this is actually one of the ones that you have been told.
I think not as a specific phrase. That's not one of mine that I think back to. And I think there was an air of that. And
Okay.
it's like mixed into like having parents who were positive and believed in me, and also a belief in God where you're learning that He's got your back. It For me, that got created into this I can be anything I want to be. Like I'm gonna be okay. And for someone in the exact same situation, you take bits of things you hear and you can create something completely different. And it's why you see like siblings that are completely different, growing up in the same household, and they take different bits and they become completely different people. And that's the like the wonder of the world is that you're choosing every day without realizing it, and you get to decide which phrases stick with you. So people have probably said to me in my lifetime, like a few of these negative ones, and that's not what I've chosen to hold on to. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I
That is so great.
pay my mind for helping me out. um, Another one that has always stuck with me is if you don't ask, you don't get. And that's something that I'm so grateful for that it stuck because, especially in motherhood and in life in general, life is easier if you're asking for help.
Yes.
And we've said this before, people like to help. And if you're someone who naturally also leans to helping, there's this lovely dance of helping and receiving help and helping and receiving help. And life is just much greater for it.
Yes. I love that you have phrases that are go-to and are very helpful. And I know for me that it has not been my personal experience, but I do wanna speak to those opposites in the sense of I don't have those as my normal go-tos, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I have learned is that I don't have those as a go-to, so I get to choose where I wanna go. So just because it comes up with one of these phrases that most of my list is not positive phrases, I guess, but it's okay to have that thought. You just don't have to believe into it. I think is what I want listeners to take from this is it's okay if one of these ones that we've brought to the table come to mind. It is you get to choose which way you wanna go with it. Like, just because it's a thought, you can either make it become more of a reality or you can choose differently.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? It's we're highlighting these phrases not to say, "Look at you, you're doing like terribly." We're saying,
Yes.
"Oh, these phrases are coming up. Let's get curious and think about if we decided they weren't true, how would life be different there?"
Yes. Yes. One of my phrases I always go to is, "This is a joke." And for me, I now know that this is like a crutch for me, where if I start to have that thought, I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's where you're at." And I don't listen to it the way I used to. Before, it would take me out and I'd just be like angry and mean whenever I would think that. And so that's where it's like, I now have power over the phrase where I'm just like, when it comes up, I'm like, "Okay, it's got it, got it. You need something in this moment." And so then I choose differently.
Yeah, I love that. It's like it's not about getting annoyed that they're coming in. It's about having power over it. I love how you
It
said that.
is.
And then choosing differently.
It is. And so now I can laugh at it before did not laugh at it so much.
Yeah.
Are there any more phrases you wanted to bring to the table?
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. This one's a hard one for me, so I'm curious what your take
Oh,
on
I was
this.
wanting you to go.
This one's hard because for me, part of me sees some truth to it, but part of me also sees a lot of like past experience with my grief of when people would make statements like that. I was like, so you're saying the death of my loved one happened for a reason? And that one's a hard pill to swallow. So this one I'm struggling with. So I'm going to still go back to you. What are things that you see with this one? Because this one I'm swallowing my word.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. It's one of those that can be said really ill-timed, to people,
Yes.
and it's not helpful. And I don't believe it in a sense, like, everything happens for a reason. I think it's more we get to choose how we deal with situations and what we can take from them. Because it's got this connotation of we're not in control and bad things are going to happen to some people, good things are going to happen to others, and there's a reason behind it.
Right. It's the word reason that I'm really getting hung up on because which leads to I don't know if I said this one, but it is what it is another phrase. But just the reason portion I'm really getting stuck on because sometimes a reason to one might not be a reason to another, I guess is why I'm really hung up on it.
Yeah. And sometimes there isn't a reason,
Yeah.
or one we're never going to find anyway. So it's not a helpful phrase.
Okay. I'm good. I'm glad we're in agreement because, like, I'm really stuck on this one because I have a lot of maybe like little t, but a lot of trauma around that one.
Yeah. Another one, if you don't suffer, you don't succeed. I mean, what even is that?
I'm like, I've never heard it, but that doesn't mean that others have not heard this.
Yeah, well, it's tied into that whole work hard,
Or,
play hard for me. Like the whole
okay,
life
yes.
is hard, then you can have fun. Make your money, then you can spend it. It's this like you have to suffer to be anything good in this life.
Okay. That I've heard work hard, play hard is more the phrase. So yes, okay. Yeah,
Just
that one
no.
is
Just no.
that one is just like for me when I hear it, it's like fall in line, do the things. And it just is really toxic to me. And just I do remember having a job where someone was like, work hard, play hard. I mean, the culture of many careers that I had was that process.
Hmm. Yeah. And what will people think?
Okay, let's be real. We all get into this trap. At least I get into this trap. I don't know about you, but I definitely get into this trap.
Yeah. I'm putting out a podcast. Ooh, what will people think?
Yeah, prime example. Exactly.
Just let it stop us though.
That is the part of what will people think is one of those things of going back to that example I gave before of wanting to be liked is we get really stuck in a place of thinking what other people are thinking for them rather than giving them the space to think whatever they think and just deal with my own thinking. And it's okay. People can think whatever they want to think. And I don't need to hold myself back. And going to what you had said before is this the play small aspect is I don't need to play small. I can actually do many things when I don't not that I don't care what other people are thinking, but I don't live my life based on what other people are thinking.
Yeah. And it's so liberating.
It is.
And
That
I can see myself for some things I'm like, yeah, who cares? And then other things I totally care. So it's like that's
exactly.
hard there.
Exactly. I say that a lot. I don't care, but I know at moments I do. And
Mhm.
so when I get stuck in that, that keeps me held back. And so it's okay to care, but you don't have to live your life based on what other people are thinking. Well,
Um, yeah.
this
And
is a really fun episode.
I know. One more positive one. Fake it till you make
Yeah.
it.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Love that one.
I don't.
Excellent.
I love when we disagree. I don't. It's fake it till you make it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't like it. This one
Yeah.
to me is a toxic one.
Okay. Why?
It's toxic because I like the idea or the concept more of be it until you are it rather than fake it till you make it. Because faking it, I know it gets you into movement, but why are you faking?
I think for me, it's a embodying it until you feel ready. I think
That's
it's
okay
what I
with.
see from it.
Okay, that's
And I think it's
interesting.
just a nice phrase because it rhymes.
It does. And when you have that intent behind it, I am on board with it, but it is one of those things of I'm not a fan of the fake it till you make it.
Because you're faking, like, you're faking the emotions. And a, I think that's good. So you're not, like, you're terrified inside and you're going to go out and do it. And you're going to tell yourself, I can do this. I'm excited. I'm not too nervous. I'm going to be great. Is the kind of faking.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with the fact that I see things as energy, and so for me, it's the energy behind it. I understand your concept, I just for me, the energy of faking it is like I'm a firm believer that every human being is more powerful than they believe, and so I rather them step into like I get it. I'm wanting to say both things in the sense of like that, do it till you feel like you are truly it, which is kind of like the fake it till you make it. But there's something in
Yeah.
here that the energy is not sitting
It's probably the
100%
word
in.
fake.
It is
It
probably
rhymes
this.
with Nate. We got to.
I love it. I love that we don't necessarily agree, but that's perfect because that just shows there's different viewpoints and how we can take these phrases and if they work for us or if they don't work for us. So,
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? You might hear a phrase that we've said is positive or we've said is negative, and you could feel the opposite about it. So it's not about us saying, these are all the good phrases, these are all the bad ones. It's
right.
about check in. If you notice a phrase constantly comes up, is this holding me back or is this pushing me forward? And if it's holding you back, then it might be time to get rid of that phrase.
Well stated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, that was fun.
Yes. Thank you for coming to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Where we discussed well known phrases and we're questioning whether they were serving you or not.